ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports, the first sports broadcasting empire, a program that attracts millions of viewers daily. How did this come to be? Who started it? Who is behind the modern television giant known as ESPN? One can only find out the true answer by turning back the clock. The year is 1932. America was just rattled by the fiasco known as the Great Depression. In the small Chicago suburb of Columbus Manor, Illinois, a prodigy was born. This very prodigy would grow up to revolutionize the world with a paradigm shift that monopolized the sports television industry, ultimately generating his current net worth of $600 million. This icon is responsible for the way humanity understands recreation today. Who can take ownership of such a legacy? None other than the money-making Mongol, lifelong sports fan, Bill Rasmussen. Rasmussen innovated how many passed their time with his many enterprises, most notably through the advent of the first 24-hour broadcasting channel, the Entertainment Sports Programming Network, known as ESPN. Ever since he was a kid, Bill Rasmussen relished in playing sports. As a 5th grader, he played on the 8th grade team, and he continued in baseball in different leagues until he was 50 years old. Had the Korean draft not steered him towards college, he would have likely pursued a successful baseball career into the majors. Consequently, and fortunately, Rasmussen earned a Master's of Business Administration at Rutgers University in New Jersey, and then pursued a bachelor's degree in economics at DePaul University in Indiana. While there, Rasmussen's ever-burning passion for sports continued to augment in magnitude. However, by this point, Rasmussen's body had already reached its climax, but his fervent spirit was not willing to part with his desire for sports. The compromise came to Rasmussen venturing into the world of sports management and communications. After completing his degrees, he landed his first job in 1962 at the 100.5 FM radio station in Atlanta, Georgia, as one of the regular guys. He cozied up to the media industry through this job, but in 1965 upgraded the television industry and migrated to WWLP-TV in Springfield. Here, he further qualified himself by becoming a sports director for 8 years, and following that, a news anchor for an additional 2. It was at this point that Rasmussen had sealed his fate in the sports industry. Finding nothing to keep him from climbing up the ladder of success, he found a job as a World Hockey Association communications director for the New England Whalers hockey team. Though he was fired upon the Whalers' climactic loss in the AVCO World Championship, Rasmussen accumulated enough status to keep his name circulated amongst the community. It was during this era of his life that Rasmussen developed his vision for a 24-hour, never-ending sports broadcast that would forever change the world's understanding of television at large. The dream was made, and now it must be reached. At first, there were few believers, but so many skeptics. Undeterred, Bill set about to turn these skeptics into believers. They needed $34,000 to buy a 24-hour transponder and one of RCA's satellites, Satcom 1. An NCAA broadcasting contract added the necessary credibility to finally answer their prayers when J.B. Dougherty of KS Suites Associates offered to invest this exact amount. When Getty Oil agreed to finance the venture with $15 million, the elements were in place for a September 7, 1979 launch of the world's first 24-hour network. A few major cable operators also cautiously embraced the idea, and then Anheuser-Busch became the cable TV's first $1 million advertiser with its contract to ESPN. To top it all off, the primary broadcasting center was established in Bristol, Connecticut for $18,000. The network first began broadcasting on September 7, 1979 at 7 p.m.
Yea, verily, a sampler of wonders. Hi, I'm Lee Leonard, welcoming you to Bristol, Connecticut, 110 miles from New York City. Why Bristol? Because here in Bristol is where all the sports action is as of right now. And we're just minutes away from the first event on the ESPN schedule. That's the 1979.
The first game that was ever broadcasted was slow-pitch softball, and the first football game was an NCAA game, Oregon at Colorado. ESPN strived to provide in-depth analysis that dwarfed the 3-minute sports news previously presented in a shamefully cursory fashion.
Welcome everyone to the ESPN Sports Center. From this very desk, in the coming weeks and months, we'll be filling you in on the pulse of sporting activity, not only around the country, but around the world as well.
Since its institution, the network has evolved tremendously, including changing hands. ABC Broadcasting first acquired ESPN in 1985, and then Disney bought ABC in 1995, thus acquiring ESPN as well. The network has also increased dramatically in size and number. ESPN is the world's leading sports provider. As of August 2013, the Nielsen Company calculated that ESPN was available to nearly 100 million households, nearly 86% of households with one television set in the United States. Currently, ESPN has 7 other related channels in the United States alone, and in the entire world, ESPN is broadcast in over 200 countries. This entertainment network alone has accumulated a net worth of circa $50.8 billion. Very similar to George Washington, Rasmussen led a type of revolution. Bill and his tiny band of cable TV patriots charged into the advertising ravines of Manhattan and traveled across an America infested with unsatisfied sports fans. Rasmussen, with his little band, instituted the first 24-hour television broadcast, which has altered the entire media industry today. Nowadays, every single channel is 24 hours a day. Simply being the first 24-hour channel opened many doors for ESPN to establish revolutionary media prowess that defined their perpetual legacy. Clearly a crucial part of ESPN, advertising is their main source of revenue. We sat down with Paul Faber, former CEO of McDonald's, to discuss how enormous commercial empires interact with television networks like ESPN.
Well, I think they justify spending money in general on advertising, specifically TV advertising, because it is still the most valued medium where we can spend money, where any corporation can spend money. Not all corporations spend money on the TV medium because of the expense. Brands like McDonald's historically have been on TV, and once you're really on TV, it's very difficult to get off because you've created such awareness to your promotion and your product that if you don't continually raise the bar of communicating your brand, you end up with down sales. And because McDonald's is a publicly traded company, they're under a great deal of pressure to continually drive same-store sales year over year to be increased. McDonald's has historically used TV as the best vehicle to communicate to their audience. Obviously, McDonald's is skewed heavily towards adult males, typically between the ages of 17 and 35. So ESPN, because of its adult population primarily to those same demographic of males, McDonald's knows that when they communicate a message on ESPN, they're hitting their target audience.
On a more deeper level than advertising, Rasmussen has also revolutionized sports themselves. He has made sports into more than just a game. He built a business out of sports. Where do the millions of dollars paid out to professional athletes come from? The cable industry. Floyd Mayweather, the boxer, was recently named 2014's world's highest paid professional athlete with a yearly salary of $105 million. Rasmussen created this billion-dollar business for all of these athletes. With his most noteworthy accomplishment, ESPN, Rasmussen has created a legacy that has ensnared millions of avid followers. ESPN is everywhere.
It's amazing, and I everywhere you go, I see it. You see it in the hotels, you see it in the restaurants, you see it everywhere, and people get all excited and they're talking about ESPN, and I just sit and have my hamburger and don't say anything. And sometimes I think about, gee, they wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that. But I'm not overwhelmed. It's kind of incredulous when you think about it.
Rasmussen's revolutionary innovation has permeated into and redefined what the world conceptualizes recreation to be, a benefaction that will surely outlive his own life.